Welcome, everyone, to the Insurance Perspectives podcast. This is part 2 of our series on Levitate. Back with us on today's show, we have Leah Stallings
Hi, everyone.
and April Jordan.
Hi there, great to be here.
If you missed part 1 in our series on Levitate, please go back and give a listen to hear more from Leah, especially the wonderful praise that April had for the success specialist Lewis and the team that Leah oversees. For part 2, we turn to a mutual customer of HawkSoft and Levitate's to learn how Levitate is used inside a real independent agency. April Jordan is the managing partner of Carolina Property Insurance. April got her start in the industry at a captive agency based out of Georgetown, South Carolina. After a brief break from the insurance industry, she was drawn back in, and she was a new business producer for an independent agency for 10 years. In 2021, she joined Carolina Property Insurance as a managing partner, where she's reinvested her knowledge gained over the years to new and existing agents while developing an agent-centric organization. April is involved in her community and supports charities benefiting children and veterans. We also did our appropriate research on the show, which was us just asking, and April let us know that she adopted a COVID kitty that is named Mr. Wilson because when April adopted him, he had the appearance and demeanor of an old man, and so the name fit. Having my own, as I stare across, my own probably equivalent mustached long-haired cat, I have to say that I totally understand that impulse. So April, thank you so much for being here. You know, we invite mutual customers representatives to the show because we like to ask them our own 5 questions, just like we ask the partner. And we do this so that there is a consistent way for someone who might be in your shoes, an agency principal or an agency owner, evaluating Levitate or any other number of solutions. To start out, we need to give our audience a perspective on who Carolina Property Insurance is and who April Jordan is. So just like we started with the Levitate story, April, I'd love to get from you who is, or what is, maybe proper grammar there, what is Carolina Property Insurance, and what is the agency like? What kind of business do you specialize in? How many team members do you have? All that fun stuff.
So, this company was founded by 2 real estate agents. So, I always joke with my business partners and say, y'all were crazy, but they're visionary. So, they saw an opportunity, and so they created this agency. It was founded in 2018 and realized that it may need a little more hand-holding than what they originally thought. So in 2021, I got the opportunity to come on board as managing partner, and over the last 4 years, we have just built a tremendous team together. We are located out of Myrtles Inlet, South Carolina, but we just opened up a smaller satellite office in Myrtle Beach. That just happened earlier in May, so we were really excited about that. We've grown by leaps and bounds over the last 3 years, really. And part of that growth is trying to service all of that growth and to stay in touch with all of our clients. We have 8 full-time employees, not including me as managing partner, so that would be another person. And then this summer is really cool. We are having a part-time intern come in, and she is also learning about Levitate too, which is really cool. We specialize in personal lines. That's kind of where we cut our teeth in the industry. And really, our first niche was really placing coverage on those homes that our real estate partner and company were closing in those transactions. Since I came on board, we're striving to offer all lines of business on the personal line side to our clients, and we are dipping our toes, so to speak, in the commercial lines department right now. So that's where we are.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I mentioned off camera that I have a colleague that is based north of you in North Carolina, and so I imagine the real estate market in the Carolinas in general is pretty hot right now.
It is pretty hot. In 2024, I just pulled some statistics for something that I was doing for another marketing event that we got the opportunity to participate in. And in 2024, there were 16,700 and some odd. I think it was 16,707 properties that were sold through Coastal Carolina Association of Realtors and the
Wow.
MLS. And there's lots of real estate transactions going on where we are, and so a lot of our business, starts with that. That's how we get our customers. Usually to begin with, it's on the
Yeah.
home owner's product. But we're coastal South Carolina, so that's our biggest niche, but we also write in North Carolina and South
Hmm.
Carolina as well.
And so I imagine that being heavily personal lines and being connected into that property growth, referrals and word of mouth and connections with real estate agents, very important to the agency.
Very important. It's one of the reasons why we have grown so much really in the last 3 years. We spend a lot of time developing those relationships with affiliated industry partners. It's really, we all really consider them one of our clients.
Mm,
That's a
yeah.
group of our clients because we spend a lot of time um, fostering those relationships and just trying to help them get to the next level of their transactions as well. We like to be a good partner as well.
Yeah. Excellent. Thank you.
I was thinking the same thing as you were saying that. In Levitate, it's true. It's not just your own customers, but referral partners is a really big. We have a whole section of content that we find a lot of people use just for that particular use case of referral partners, because you do have to stay in touch with them as well and foster those relationships.
Yeah, we definitely are going to dive more into that. Trying to think if there's any other agency questions that I should ask before jumping in. Um, ah, the thing that I always love to ask. Um, so April, for you personally, what gets you excited about insurance?
I just love dealing with people. I did get out of the insurance industry briefly, but realized very quickly that it was just where home was and where my
Hmm.
heart belonged. And so I love dealing with people. I love helping people, and I also love the fast pace. Believe it or not,
Sure.
we have a lot of things to do every day, and no day is the same. So that along with we keep learning something new as the industry changes and as underwriting guidelines change, we pivot and we learn, and that's kind of exciting. It's just been an industry that I've always just kind of just felt like I was at home.
Yeah, I completely understand that. Internally, we often say that um, you rare like this always sounds bad, but we say like rarely was insurance a choice. You're born into it, or it's like your initial career, and then you fall in love with it, and it's like okay, you're here. But very rarely do we see people kind of opt out of the insurance industry once they get dip their feet in. So I totally understand that. Now I want to dive into kind of the topic of Levitate at Carolina Property Insurance. And we touched on this a bit in part one, so folks should go back and listen to that. But where I want to start is uh when did the agency bring on Levitate? How many years ago was that?
We're fairly new with Levitate. We brought on Levitate in 2024, but I looked at Levitate very soon after I came to this agency when I was
Gotcha.
looking for different resources for us and maybe different goals for me to look towards in the future as far as finding software that was going to help us do what we needed to do or what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I had looked at Levitate, I think it was about 2 years, 2 or 3 years ago. I don't know if it was the first year I was in the business or second year I was here, but I had my eye set on Levitate for quite some time. And as soon as we could pull that trigger, we did.
Okay. So then I want to go back to that initial discovery and put ourselves in that mindset. Because many agencies are going to be aware of a struggle or like a hurdle that they're facing. but they might not be aware of how a particular solution exists to solve it. So, what was the awareness that you had that brought you to Levitate? What was that pain point you were trying to solve?
When I initially became acquainted with Levitate, I wasn't really trying to solve a pain point. I was just trying to do some research on some things that kind of fell in my lap because you guys are known industry wide. So I think that I just wanted to take a look at it. But as our agency grew and the longer that I stayed and the more people that I put in place, and then we really started growing, okay, there's some pains here. We need to find a way where we can communicate with clients and we can follow up with potential referral sources that we meet after an
Mm,
event in a efficient format and do it quickly. So it was really the communication and the personal touch
mm.
that we could not keep up with, but that we wanted to achieve. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's perfect. Um, yeah, so you were seeing a lot of you were interacting with a lot of potential clients. You were um, out in the community and spreading the word, but it was that probably too much of a good thing where you had a lot of opportunity, but to stay on top of everything and stay in touch with everybody just became a point of friction within the business. It sounds like.
Yes. And it takes a lot of time from, like one staff person, especially when we all already wear a lot of hats within the agency. Team members are busy in insurance agencies. They're doing things. And as we try to streamline and, divide lanes and formulate processes, this was just one of the things that it just didn't fit one hat. It needed to be something in and of itself.
So, Leah, is that a common reason you see agencies seek out Levitate? This point, this like tipping point they reach where the 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 13th hat isn't going to fit on the producer's head, and so they need help. Is that something you see a lot?
Yeah, I mean that is a very common reason that people reach out to us. We also, I mean, to April's point, sometimes you don't even know that it's a pain point yet until sometimes with our sales team reaching out when they show you that there's an easier way to do it, then it's like, oh wow, that is a pain point, and I could be doing it better. And so just being out there, our sales team talking to people and showing them that we have a solution that actually helps with this.
We talked about this 80/20 rule in part one, of there are these things that every platform is going to need to do to be competitive in their particular vertical, their particular channel that they serve, and then there's this 20% differentiator that makes them stand out and connects them. So from our perspective, partners might provide expansive features or a rich platform. Others might be very focused on a specific set of tools or services, and we want to focus on those, on the specifics of change enable it within an agency by a partner, because there's a world before working with Levitate and there's a world after. There's a world before they're at the agency, and there's the world after they brought change, and we want to explore how those are different. So, April, what can your agency do now with Levitate that you could not do before you started using them?
There's a number of things before, and some people might listen to what I'm going to say and they may Google or they may go, oh my gosh, that's me. One of the things that we were doing at the end of month close in when all of the new business was in, or if we had an interaction with a client, we would keep a list and we had someone who would manually send emails to everybody asking for a Google review. Okay, so that was great. We got some Google reviews. It took a lot of time to do that. And so now with Levitate, it's on an automated campaign. When that new business is bound and they become an active client with us, there's an email campaign that goes out that says, hey, how did we do? And it's one of a few emails that our clients get within a certain time period. And our Google reviews have gone up, dramatically because of that, because it's consistent And I can take that time that we were doing to send out those Google review emails and allocate my staff member, my team member to do something else that's going to create business.
If we zoom in on that one, and I definitely want to know what the other ones are, but if we zoom in on that one, um, and I might be leading the witness, but is it safe to say that um, when you bind that new business, you probably receive like a download from Ivan's maybe into your HawkSoft system, and then do you have to put that data into Levitate, or does it go there automatically?
No, integration is one of the key um, things that we love about Levitate. You know, it's all integrated. The data goes over. The automation is tripped by whatever that is. See, I don't even know what that technology is. I just know it works. But and that email goes out to our clients, and clients respond because the read rates on these emails are incredible because Levitate uses Microsoft Outlook as their
Yeah,
base, and so it looks like you are receiving an email from me that is personable,
yeah,
that is from me. So it's amazing.
Yeah. So you say Microsoft Outlook because that's what you use, but actually what we're using is whatever your email system is, because
Okay.
that's the point of it being personal. So for each person, it'll be different. But that's the intent behind it. It's your own email that's sending it, not necessarily Levitate. We're just helping you scale it and automate it.
And it works.
yeah. And I think that I hope our audience clues into the observation you made about um, the specifics of it. Strictly speaking, is not important to your role. You have Lewis, your success specialist, and you have the team at Levitate that helps you get everything up and running. HawkSoft and Levitate are integrated so they connect together, and so you're alleviated of that burden of having to be an automation slash technology specialist. You get to be managing partner of the agency and trust that it's going to work for you.
That's correct. And that's huge.
Are there any other world changing things that came with Levitate for your agency? Anything that really shifted um, and stand out to you?
I think there's a few more things. I think that what we try to do is when we go to an event or we sponsor something or we get the opportunity to speak in front of just say a group of realtors or a group of mortgage lenders, one of the things that we like to do is follow up. It's all in the follow up, right? We come back, we take business cards, we create a CSV file through Excel, and those are imported into the system through Levitate, which is great. The good thing about contacts is you can label them as such and whatever they are, and they don't necessarily have to come from HawkSoft. If it's a new group of contacts that you're needing to communicate with, you can do that. It's super simple. Lewis helped showed me how to do that, and then we can send them something the next day, and that is huge because that says something to people about how responsive we are. And the cool thing about it is if I send out 50 emails and I have conversations with 10 and I remember some of those key little golden nuggets that makes a connection, I can go in and I can, within those 50 emails, I can make a customization.
Mm,
Say I talked to you about your cat, and I mentioned something about your cat. People go, oh my gosh, you remember that about me. So you really make it easy and make it a system so that we can really really make those connections with not only our clients but other sources of contacts that we
yeah,
want to send information to. And then just the touch to clients. We've been able to send videos to clients different times of the year. We send them, not only do we send them a happy birthday email, but within that email is an embedded video from the staff. And we've got confetti blowing and we say, happy birthday. And people love it. And the response that we get from it, they're like, oh my gosh, thank you. This is so great. So not only do we see who's reading it, but I also get responses from people that say, this is great. Thank you so much. This is so thoughtful. So it's really just touch and
Hmm.
making that connection.
It sounds like you are given the power to personalize and be authentic through automation. One of the things that I personally struggle with is as a my profession is marketing, um, and so as a marketer, I see the strings whenever I get an email. Um, I can see usually like the telltale signs of like, oh, this is automation, or it looks like they wrote it for me, but they really did not write it for me. But it sounds like you're given the power with Levitate to have eyes on the emails that are going out and augment them so that way you can put that personal note about my cat, or the birthday emails aren't just happy, like my dentist office sends me a postcard on my birthday, like, but I recognize that it's what they do. It's what the dentist has done since time immemorial. But it sounds like the keep in touch ethos at Levitate is giving you this like personalization to it.
It really is. And I think that that makes such a difference in all of the masses of emails that we all
Mm.
get every day in our inbox. And, you know, the idea that we're able to create our own content within Levitate. Yes, Levitate offers content that's already made up, but they also give us the ability to create our own content and put that content into the system and use that if it's something that we just, want to do as an agency. So we have lots of options for control.
Leah, from your vantage point, getting to work with many agencies and overseeing a team that works with all of your customers, is this a unique story that April is telling, or is this something you see across your agency customers and across industry partners?
It is definitely what we see across. Like April was describing, I mean, you really have the freedom to customize as much as you want, and we recommend that. We love that. To your point, you get something from your dentist office and you can tell. We will sometimes have clients, especially something like a happy birthday email, they'll try to change what we've written because they have in their minds what everybody else is doing. And so sometimes we have to explain, like, no, it's more personal when it's a 2 sentence plain text email, because that's what someone would actually sit down and write to you. Like, that is the personal touch of it. And then when you can add on those things that you remember about those relationships, it just makes it even more authentic, that they're receiving that.
I could stay on this topic for a long time because it really does sound like Carolina Property Insurance is getting a lot of use out of Levitate. But we have two more questions that I want to get to. And these are mirrors of questions we asked Leah in part one. And as I said at that point last time, our podcast is meant to be a dialogue, which means in the pursuit of fair play, we're going to ask April similar questions than we asked Leah about perspective on the industry. This is an opportunity to illuminate something that might be challenging, um, or just something that you would like to see changed. The caveat I always give, there's two things I bring up. First and foremost, uh, you can talk about HawkSoft too. If we're a factor in your feedback, I'm receptive and I will give it to the powers that be. Um, the other piece is that price is a boring answer. I wish we lived in Star Trek times, in a nice utopia, but we'll set price aside from this question. My question for you, April, is if you could change one thing about Levitate, what would that be?
I think Levitate's pretty awesome. So I really don't have, I mean, I'm like a big proponent. Like, if anybody wants to talk to me about Levitate, I'm your girl. I do think that one of the things that we're trying to figure out here as an agency that we haven't quite been able to figure out is the texting piece.
Hmm.
And I would say that's within HawkSoft and within Levitate. So I'm kind of going to give you both something,
Sure.
maybe some food for thought. And it may be that we just don't know enough about what we're doing, which could be, technology is something that we have to work on as insurance agents. But I think the texting capabilities um, could could be maybe a little bit richer.
I will say, here at Levitate, we love feedback. So our clients can send us all the feedback they want, because we love to have lots and lots of feedback. It gives us ideas of what we need to work on next and what we're going to focus on. So our product team is very open to feedback.
I would say, this is my personal soapbox, um, I think Levitate has done a great job of pulling back on email and making it more personal, because again, horn wearing, pitchfork carrying marketer, um, we kind of ruined email in general.
Mhm.
I think Levitate's approach is a path back to email being meaningful again.
Yeah,
And I think they do a great job of that. A lot of people are working very hard to not destroy text messaging. And so a lot of regulation is involved. That's something that HawkSoft struggles against constantly. We had to spend probably an entire year addressing new legislation for text messaging. So I would definitely lean on your success specialist and talk to them about it and see how to navigate that. But then also, this is my personal perspective as a consumer. Um, Texting maybe can be set aside or just left for payments, little notifications, things like that, because it can be. It's a fine line, and the FCC is like watching. So
exactly.
yeah, it's a hard one to navigate. I can appreciate that.
Yeah, and I'll just to echo what you just said, we've had the regulations that have come down on texting have unfortunately made it harder for our clients, and we're trying as hard as we can to make it easy, but we have to abide by, the changes happening in the industry. So that does make texting in particular a challenging from a registration and getting a number and what the requirements are that you have to do.
Well, I
Yeah.
know that if anyone can help us with that, I know that it's Levitate and HawkSoft because we appreciate the partnership for sure.
Okay. So this brings us to my last question for you, April. And we've been having this wonderful conversation about how Levitate is used at the agency. And I'd like us to look back, inclusive of all of the features, workflows, people, and other tangible benefits. What value is your agency gaining through your partnership with Levitate?
Gosh, there's just so much. I think the value of time, and of course, time is money.
Hmm.
And anything that we can make efficient in an insurance agency is the gift of time. That's what it allows us to get back. And so Levitate has just really offered some value in the fact that we've been able to make those touches in less time, but the touches be more valuable. So, I mean, I think that that's just kind of a win-win formula for success that Levitate has. And it's been really instrumental in our agency. Our clients love it. And I think that our referral sources love getting an email from us that says, "Hey, so glad to see you last night. Glad I had a chance to have a conversation with you about XYZ. Look forward to seeing you, at the next meeting." And they go, "Wow, that's amazing." So I think that the control over the data as things change within our agency, we add another team member. We need to take the data and make sure that whoever's servicing that portion of the book can have a place within Levitate. It's an easy pivot, it's an easy transition. Um, every time that I reach out and I need something, I get a response. So the responsiveness and the helpfulness is just amazing. And everybody's so nice,
Yeah.
which is great. There's so many value propositions that Levitate and HawkSoft have both added to our agency. I mean, there's just been so many workflows and so many things that we're able to do now since we formed a partnership with you guys. It's been very, very transforming to Carolina Property Insurance for sure.
That is fantastic. And I think that is a great sentiment to land our episode on. Um, April, thank you so much for spending some of your time with us today. And Leah, April, thank you so much for joining this series and talking about Levitate and talking about Carolina Property Insurance. Thank you for watching today's episode. Click the episode description below to learn more about our guests and to view the latest podcast episode, as well as other content from HawkSoft. We appreciate you watching and hope you join us next time on the Insurance Perspectives podcast. Thank you.